Welcome back to Sunrise Daily, and we're going to continue our conversation with Mr. Ikoku, who is in Abuja. Mark?
Well, thank you, Chamberlain. I was hoping that, perhaps you want to put in some questions before we continue here in Abuja.
Sure. As a matter of fact, I mean, he was talking about the leadership, the public service, and then look, when we sit back and think, we're not the only country that play politics in the world. Several other countries have their best brains in public service, and then they have good attitude to work. We can't exactly say the same thing in our own situation here. But as a productivity expert, I mean, you know that if you have to run an organization, you have to get your best people to run some of those so that when they see policies, they see good initiatives, they can recognize them. To what extent can we say our leadership recruitment process really needs to radically change in good time too, if we need to solve this problem on a long-term basis?
Well, I seem to have lost you, but from what I heard you ask, the leadership strategy, approach has to have changed as of yesterday. The truth of the matter is we don't run a meritocratic society. If you go into the civil service and you see a young man who's really giving his best, he may be passed over for promotion because someone else comes from the same place as the boss. Once you have things like that, people begin to do the minimal that they can do just to get paid. And that's not good enough. We need to create a meritocratic society. Abroad, that's what happens. You know, you are identified for your performance, and you're given praise, you're given promotion, and so on. This is the only country where I hear people complain. I've not gone for training for 3 years, but these people have gone, those people have gone. And I'm thinking, what have you shown to be your contribution to the organization that's sending you for training? How do we know we're not just wasting money on you? It's not an entitlement. It's something that you should earn. It's across the board. Don't forget that the people you call leaders today were in the system yesterday, and they're probably leaders because their titles have changed. It's always garbage in, garbage out. I'm sorry. But the truth of the matter is we need to really begin to see that it's the human element that makes all the difference in the world. Take Singapore, small place. Look at the great results. Take Japan, no natural resources. They're exporting automobiles, exporting electronics to the entire world. Take South Korea. They've come in to take over LCD screens, take over telephones, take over pharmaceutical equipment manufacturing, and they're sitting right next door to North Korea where there's a lot of insecurity, but they're still getting things done. It's about people. 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 In Nigeria, we have to stop just, looking for the easy buck, travel abroad, get your DTA, get your duty tour allowance, get your foreign exchange, and stop living that life. We need to begin to see that we can be more productive, even in the public service itself.
I'm just wondering, if things were to change, for instance, at the federal level, at the federal public service level, do you think that would have any effect on the states, for instance?
Absolutely not. The federal system is an ATM for the states. They just come and collect, what's the share of the oil, and then they go back. As far back as I can remember, as far back as the mid-90s, almost every state that was in existence then had an investment company. Okay, these investment companies pooled funds and built industries and so on. What's happened to them? Why haven't they grown? Why haven't they made those things, such huge organizations 30, 40 years later that they're employing people? Why are those things sitting down moribund? I went to a state, I won't call the state, they had 3 different factories. And each of them just needed a little thing to get it going. And it's been down for 20-something years. These guys are high on oil money. Just come to the federal capital and get money. Now, I can't tell the president what to do, and probably the laws will not allow it, but every state must be viable. When in the 70s, 80s, we said, don't create more states, people were being emotional about it. I went from this part, and then these people don't talk to us, and then we don't quarrel, or we don't get on, so let's have a new state. Now, sustain the states. That's a problem. Farming. A simple thing like farming. Who's farming?
Well, the only state we've heard so far is Kebbi, Ebonyi perhaps, with this rice production, which seems to be gaining traction. But we've had very little in terms of other states, investing as they should in farming.
And we're delighted that we have examples to look at. I think other states should create what I'll call agricultural tourism and visit Kebbi and visit Abakaliki and see what's happening with the rice. And maybe they'll come back with a new will and desire to get things done. In the aviation sector, they're trying to create agro-allied things. So people say, look, even if we have these things, we can't store them, we can't export them, we can't do stuff like that. We don't have roads, we don't have the infrastructure to do stuff. But I think that if we had been serious about it, and if we begin to get serious about it at state level, we should be able to do enough. I mean, if a state government says, okay, here's the land for farming, we will create a road to evacuate your products to the highway, to the federal highway. That's something. If we took our NYSC members, the youth corpers, and we put them into farming, instead of having the breweries and all these companies have musical shows where they spend hundreds of millions of naira, people drink free beer, which is not a bad thing. But if they could come together and create hostels in the middle of nowhere, and all these huge farms, and all these kids can go there and work for 1 year and produce things that are evacuated to the markets or exported, it will do well.
We heard that was done at some point in the 70s, I think, that youth corpers had to own a portion of farmland and they had to do something about it. You really think that will work now, considering the level of resistance? I mean, they've tried to send youth corpers to schools. That policy is sometimes, we don't know how effective that policy has been. Well, you think that farms is where they should be going, not the schools?
Yeah, well, here's the question. If we did it in the 70s, why haven't we improved on it today? Why must it be non-existent today? The schools we're sending our youth corpers to, and this is why I disagree with one or two of the government policies, about just getting students to come in and become teachers and so on and so forth. Listen, it's garbage in, garbage out. I'm an employer of labor. Most of the people you take have to be retrained. They can't speak English, they can't type properly, they can't do anything. And then you take those same people and you make them teachers of the next generation. Give me a break. Education is the most important thing. After that, probably defense, security. So we need to pay attention to education. For now, the youth couples should go on the farm. Let's get food down. Let's get them productive. They're doing nothing. Community service once a week. They go and teach in some schools. They're not even happy. Their parents don't want them to go to areas that are not safe. If we had coppers, like when I did mine in 1981, I was in a platoon in Kaduna. If you take platoons and you say to them, you're going to lay 5 miles of rail tracks during your youth service, this country would be corridor to corridor packed full of train stations. And we'll be moving goods, we'll have rolling stock, we will do stuff. If something is not working, that's not a problem. But if something is not working for so long and people are not doing anything about it, I think that's the definition of madness. And I think that's what's happening here. We should do a lot more. Use our youth corpers. Our military should do a lot more. In America, if you join the Navy today, one of the reasons to join the Navy will be because you're going to be exposed to technology. You're going to be exposed to things. We have no military-industrial complex. There's nothing we're doing. The military could have helped us build the roads to evacuate things from our farms. The military built most of the roads in America. So we just need to think a little bit better. We need to expect a little bit more. I spent some time with science and technology, and all the goals they have, as far as I'm concerned, I mean, with all due respect, as far as I'm concerned, are not the sort of goals we should be looking at this time. We should be looking higher than that. Iran is testing long-range missiles. Pakistan is nuclear capable. North Korea is launching missiles from its submarines, and we're still talking about creating our own pencils, and we're still talking about, catfish and big snails, and we're talking about. We have to raise the thinking of the people. We are better than this. And we have to make it begin to show.
Perhaps that's coming from, people who say, how does that put food on the table? I mean, I recall the conversation around, we're going to the moon, we're launching our own satellite. And people were saying, how does that affect us right now? I mean, in terms of, is it that we don't understand the correlation between, what that it should be, or is that just where we are in terms of our level of, not level of development, but in terms of our level of needs?
Well, there has to be a balance. If there's anything, I don't know it, but if there's anything that gives us as a human race an advantage in space, we should be looking at it. But having said that, it's people who are filled, people who have eaten, who do calculus, who do thermodynamics, who do stuff like that. We need to put food on the table, which is why I said like coppers would be more useful helping us get food on the table. There should be